Wilderness Resource Committee meeting together at 4:35. And would you do the prayer, sir?
Bow your heads. Lord, thank you for allowing us to come together again to do the people's business and help us find wisdom and compassion as we do that, and help us remember the least of our brothers and sisters. Amen.
Shall we do the roll call, please?
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Frankie Hargis.
Present.
Bill England.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Joe Bird. Julia Coates. Here. Jody Fisher-Cox. Meredith Fraley. Here. Janelle Fulbright. Here. Don Garvin.
Aye.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.
Here.
Connie Gloria Jordan. Lee Keener.
Here, go on.
Dick Lay.
Here.
David Thornton. David Walkenstick. Kara Calvin Watts. John Masters.
Oh,
We do have a form.
thank you. Need approval of the May 14th regular session meeting. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All same sign. Motion carries. Moving on down to reports, Management Resources, Bruce Davis.
Good afternoon. Hope everyone's well. It's a beautiful day today. I have some new people with me today I want to introduce. Miss Erica Hart is Acting Director of Realty. I have Laura Adair, who is in for Tom Elkins, and Pat Gwynn with Natural Resources. And those are the experts. So if you have any questions, we'll ask them. Okay. So, Ms. Cherokee.
I've asked for alcohol.
Yes, ma'am.
That next month, if you could provide a report on where we're at on the art inventory for the tribe, I would appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am. I will take care of it for
I
you.
want to say that in the law that it actually provides for that inventory to be online,
Okay.
I think.
We can take care of that. I have some news for you too. That project's been passed on to Lacey Horn and Pat. Who was the other gentleman? Okay. Could y'all hear that? Okay. All right. I know you have my report. If have any other questions?
Any questions for Bruce? Bruce, could you give us an update on the bison, or are those buffalo?
Bison?
Bison.
Yes.
Give us a little,
We met with a gentleman from Yellowstone National Park last week, and Pat Gwynn's more knowledgeable about the bison than I am. If you don't mind, I'll have him come up and give you a report on the bison.
Sure.
So we're real excited about it. And so, Pat, would you come up for it, please?
We did meet with Mr. Gerald Parsons, who's also one of the board members of the American Bison Association, which it's the National Bison Association, excuse me. And we're getting some preliminary information. He wants to assist us in getting 80 Yellowstone animals. Those animals are only available to Native American tribes. So first generation Yellowstone animals cannot be sold. Second generation Yellowstone animals retail for about $3,500 a piece. So they're fairly expensive animals, which we would get at no cost. The one thing that I'm sure most of you are worried about is we've heard the horror stories about trying to keep bison confined. He assured us that the reason why bison are hard to confine is because cattlemen do not make good bison men. And we're going to go visit his facilities. He has assured us that bison are a very easy animal to keep in and are very lucrative in today's market. So the game plan is for Mr. Davis, myself, and some other folks to go look at Mr. Parsons' herd and then put some figures to paper and hopefully have something to present to you maybe by next committee. But just speaking for myself, who, as many of you know, I raise sheep, so didn't know a lot about bison, but I thought he was a very knowledgeable person and certainly quelled a lot of the fears I had regarding these animals. So, one thing I always like to pass on to folks is a lot of people think that bison were a west of the Mississippi animal, and that's not true. There was a free-ranging herd that was very important to the Cherokees that ranged all the way from New York State all the way down to North Carolina. So they were a big part of Cherokee culture, and maybe will be so again in the future.
Councilman Walker.
Where are you planning on putting these buffalo?
We're looking at several different locations now. I've given Mr. Davis a couple for that are here in the local area, and then we're going to look at both our Candy Mink Springs project sites and also our Kenwood project sites.
Make a recommendation that you put these in an area that is highly visible, maybe close to a bypass or highway where people and tourists could see them as they pass by.
And since we'll have to be constructing, facilities from scratch, we really don't have any place that's going to. The location really doesn't matter because, like I said, we can build anywhere since we don't have anything.
Was the Marcoma property, was that an option?
We really need about 400 acres based upon the proposal that we'll be sending in. So,
How many acres per animal do you need?
he says 4 acres per head. I thought that, now, 2. Bruce, who's a cattle person, that he thought that was a little low, but he assured us that bison grazed on less acres than did cow.
Thank you, Chair.
Councilman Lady Fulbright.
Thank you. So will you be traveling to Yellowstone to look at the herd?
No, his herd is in close to Atoka, Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
And his facilities are.
I heard there was a large herd down there.
Yeah, it's between Atoka and Tishomingo. And one other thing I might mention is a lot of the horror stories that you've also heard have resulted from folks trying to raise them using cattle facilities, because cattle facilities will not work for buffalo.
Councilman Garth.
If we accept this donation, are there certain requirements with it? I mean, the acreage, the fencing, the feed, are there certain requirements that come with this donation?
The donation will be approved by Yellowstone, and they will not approve that donation until they come down and they check off on your facilities. So your facilities will have to be approved beforehand. However, Yellowstone enters into these agreements knowing that these are going to be commercial animals, and they fully expect these animals to be used commercially.
But there is special fencing requirements?
Yes.
And
then
acreage requirements. Is there requirements of how close the herd can be to a town or city or?
The fencing requirements are actually fairly liberal. What the NBA recommends is a 5 foot of woven wire mesh with enough barb on top of that to equal 6 foot tile. So, which is not a real expensive fence.
I know we had a herd before and they got sick. As I recall, something of that.
It's been before my time. So.
It was a long time ago.
We had
It was
two.
before a lot of people in this room.
Yeah,
I remember having them. We had them out at the Heritage Center, as I recall, and somehow we let them get sick. There's some disease. I don't know if it's. I understand there's several different types of buffalo or bison, and this one group that we had before is not going to be the same group or same type that we will have this time.
I'm assuming that they weren't Yellowstone stock.
I don't think they were.
But what I would say is that there were a lot of misconceptions, and there are a lot of misconceptions about raising bison. One of those is that that they are disease free and do not require any medical treatment. And just like cattle, these animals do require annual medical treatment, and the medical regime that you put them in is part of your proposal process.
So we would establish a budget for their care.
Yes, ma'am.
And then hopefully second generation, this budget would start being supplemented by the sale of some of the animals.
That is correct, and we'll have those figures for you when we present something formally to the council.
The only thing I would suggest is that we consider the placement somewhere where they might not get hunted, because they are, we brought the elk here, and that has been a problem. You have the elk out at the reserve, but every once in a while they wander away from the reserve, and then they think hunters are free to hunt them if they're out there outside the fencing area, and I'm not so sure that ours may not be hunted within the fencing area.
Well, one thing I might mention is that several tribes do have Yellowstone animals, and one of the money-making endeavors that those tribes are doing is they are sponsoring hunts for the bulls that they need to cull, and they're getting anywhere between $5,000 and $12,000 per hunt on those.
Well, if we were wanting them hunted, that's one thing,
Yeah.
but usually
Right.
what happens to us is we don't plan on them being hunted.
Yeah.
Then we find out they're gone. So that's the only problem we had with other animals in this area.
Councilor Watts?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me make sure that I understood what's going on. So we are going to do this to make a for-profit herd to sell the meat of the buffalo and any other parts of the buffalo.
The Yellowstone will look at all proposals. However, they highly encourage the buffalo to be placed into a commercial market endeavor, because as a living museum, they generally do not tend to pay for themselves, and their facilities and upkeep tends to lack. So they strongly encourage the endeavors to be commercial in nature.
And I do appreciate Councilman Walking Stick's comment about visibility, because when we had a small herd on our farm, people would drive out to see them. I mean, that was like, I got weekly reports from the elders. So on those animals then, are we going to look at maybe stopping the current practice of, like, if we're going to really grow this operation, of taking back a lot of our lands from folks that are leasing them out for other purposes? And I know it's been talked about in this committee before about how some of those lands are treated. We would bring those back to do actually for our own commercial use.
Yeah, that would be a question for someone with more stripes on their sleeve than me. So.
Fair enough, Pat, fair enough. So I think that you have some additional herds. So I know that Mr. Bacon from Choctaw Nation, they've been very, he said that they actually have a really good herd, sizable herd, and are making money off their buffalo.
And that's a non-Yellowstone herd.
Okay, and so I think they had a lot of information that you might be able to get from them. And then there was one of the roars over around Claremore actually had an active herd, and I don't know if he still has his or not, but if you want that information, there's folks that have successfully done that even in our area as individuals.
I mean, like I said, this is just strictly informational at the present, and it certainly seems promising.
Thank you.
Councilman Walker Stick?
Are we getting money from the government to take care of these animals?
No. Once these animals are transferred to you, the care would be the entirely the responsibility of the tribe.
Thanks. Thank you, Chair.
Any more questions? Yes, sir.
Is everybody finished with the bison? I've got another question. Change the subject. I'd like to know where you're at on the proposed land to raise plants, medicine plants, and set aside property to do that, and to develop meetings for our elders that are into the medicine plants, or our medicine men and our other people that's being taught. I'd like to know where you're at on that. I know that's your idea and you're going at it, and if you could make a few comments on that, I'm interested in that.
It's not my idea. It's an idea that I'm helping a group of elders foster. So I don't want to take credit for their idea. But everyone, I'm sure most folks know that I work with a group of elders I won't mention their names because they don't like to be advertised. But we've had several meetings. I'm working with the Attorney General's office now to get this group recognized, possibly through the means of an editorial board to work with the books that Natural Resources has drafted. And that group met, actually, it was 2 weeks ago. We met right out here at the garden. And that group is in the process of putting a proposal together that we will forward to the tribal administration to see how they want to foster that through. They've had discussions of possibly, requesting the tribe to buy them some property. And I've had some opportunity to show them some of the existing tracts of land that we already have. And they're mulling over their options right now, so to speak. I will say they were very pleased to see some of the plants we have growing over there in the native area now. So, and of course, this all started as a language preservation project. So it's springboarded into something more than I had envisioned. But thus far, it's culminated in the one and only botanical text from an Indian tribe that's written in both English and its native language. So this group has done good things, and I expect more good things to come out of them.
Okay. Then what you're saying is you're trying to set land aside for them to do this with?
They had originally requested that we possibly think about purchasing them 160 acres, and I don't think that some of these folks aren't local, so they weren't really aware of the tribal land holdings that we have. So I gave them some information regarding some of the tribal trust tracts we have from our 4 projects, and they're currently looking at those. One of them that they're looking at is South Saw Creek Park. Is possibly, and they're not wanting anything elaborate. They're wanting a place to where they can go and have discussions in Cherokee regarding, ethnobotanical issues, and I'd like to frame that with the following discussion. In our immersion school, we teach kids in a classroom setting the language. This tribe will never ever forget the word for chair because they use it every day. However, the tribe has already forgotten the 7 words for the 7 different species of hickory tree we have. And those are the types of things that they're wanting to discuss and preserve.
Sounds good to me. I'm really interested in it. When you get down to having to bring forth an act, a resolution, you're going to have that. I'd be really interested in sponsoring it. Thank you.
Any more questions from Pat? Thank you, Pat.
Thank you, sir.
Moving on down to Real Estate Services, Erica Hart.
Mr. Chair, she just stepped out. She'll be right back.
Yes, Don.
I had a question for Mr. Davis.
Yes, sir.
Hoping to give us some good news on the Veterans Center.
I can, and I failed to introduce David Moore, who's over our planning and development. David, would you please come forward? He's in charge of the Veterans Center.
We've got that on our...
We're all in charge. Good afternoon. Right now, they have started installing the frames for the glass. That should start Wednesday or Thursday, installing some glass in them. The roofer's on site. He's doing the work for the fascia, the wood framing for it. So, it's moving again right now. So, another, I'd say, a roof, probably another 3-4 weeks. 4 weeks probably be complete on the roof. This time next month, the roof will be on. If there's no delay on shipment of metal, yes. If there's no delay there, but yeah, I'm not, how that goes. But as of right now, it should be. What else do you have planned? On the veterans? Well, right now, that's all the money we have, available to do the veterans from our end. Administration has told us that, we're going to get the money and finish it.
They didn't say when.
No, I don't know if they're going to try to do it before the new budget or, amend one and go from there. I can't give you that answer right now.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yes. Yes, go ahead, just go ahead.
Before you're up here on talking about the Veterans Building, I just wanted to take an opportunity to say that I, for one, and I hope a good portion of this council certainly appreciate what Flint Co. did in getting the building to this point.
Yes.
I think there was some misunderstanding that maybe we had some questions about the Flint Co. Work, and that was never, at least the questions that I asked at the last meeting, had nothing to do with our gratitude that we felt towards what they had done.
Right. And I addressed that with Ms. Ballinger, and she was good with it. I mean,
Well, we would have not gotten this far
Right.
had Flint Co. not taken the lead and brought down a person to run the project and get us to this point.
Right, and I made her aware of that because, we do appreciate it. And I think she just misunderstood some of the things that were said
If
or
you would
took it wrong.
convey that to her again,
I
I would
will.
certainly
I
appreciate
sure
it.
will. I will.
Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Moving back up the list to Erica Hart, Real Estate Services. Would you have anything to update us on real estate?
You have a copy of my report, so I can answer any questions as far as...
Council Lady Watts.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I assume they passed on to you my monthly question for the
Higher more.
past 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah. They did from and I think this has probably been standard for a while, it's still at the solicitor's office, so it's in their hands, and we haven't received anything new on that.
With Charles Head's, Secretary Head's connections, could we possibly get some movement, or where, I don't know, what else would you suggest that we should be doing in order to move forward the Claremore Federal Building?
Good question. It's hard for me to say. Basically, from what I understand, it's kind of that there's a little bit of a difficulty in processing it, and that's why it's taking their office a while. I can certainly talk to Charles. I have no idea what his connections are. I do know where he was employed, and see where we can see if that will help at all.
Thank you.
Yes, Professor Hall.
Yeah, could you give us what your background is, a little bit of information about you, because I've never met you, and I'd like to know that, if you're Cherokee or not.
I'm not Cherokee. I'm a Red Lake Ojibwe from Minnesota.
You're what?
Red Lake Ojibwe.
You're not Cherokee?
No.
Okay.
I've been employed with Cherokee Nation for 2 years as the Director of Evaluation and Compliance. Basically go out and do program reviews, analyze programs for efficiencies, and try to come up with, it can be anything from an audit to more of an investigation type of activity, and come up with suggestions, hopefully to improve processes of the programs.
What's your background in realty?
In realty, in previous employment, I did feed a trust applications. I've done purchasing, land acquisition. Other than that, I really don't have realty experience. I'm placed there temporarily until they hire somebody permanently for the position.
Thank you.
Councilman Don Garvin.
Do you have a broker's license in Oklahoma
It-
State? Do not?
No, I do not.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Lee Keener.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Back to the Claremore Federal Building
Right.
briefly. I entertained, or we met, and one of the things that we came up with was maybe make a multi-use facility. So if that would help move that along with the federal government, that would be something you might look into. I've mentioned that. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We have more questions for Erica? Thank you, ma'am. Good report.
Thank you.
Moving on down to environmental programs, Laura Adair. Ms. Garrett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Laura, I don't expect you to answer this on the spot, but I understand we have mercury data. And I understand we have mercury data which indicates that there might be bigger human health issues around the Salasalt area.
They're in the process of retesting this month. I know they did get the fish permits, and they're out retesting a lot of the areas that they had tested last year, and more areas in addition to the ones that they did. There is data that is out there about last year's testing, and I can speak to Mr. Callison about that.
I don't know to what degree or level the rest of the council would like it, but I would like the raw data. I think we've been doing mercury testing for 3 or 4 years, maybe.
I know we've done it 2 years.
Okay, I'll take what we have, whether it's 2, 3, or 4, and see what that is, and maybe a cover letter with the human health reminders. I think in our tribal water quality codes, we have fish consumption standards based on the state, and we have not reevaluated based on our community's typical increased fish consumption. But I think that would be to highlight that and pull the law on top of it for what we have on the books and what is normal for consumption around fish and mercury. That would be great.
Okay.
Because that's what our mercury testing is fish tissue samples. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Because we don't, assuming that data is indicating potentially negative impacts to human health, we don't know if there's a natural source or if there's a point source or if it's deposition.
As of last year, when they discussed it at some of our EPC meetings, at that time they did not know the source. But I can see if Mr. Callison has any additional information since then.
Yeah, I'd appreciate that. That would be great. Just like a cover letter on top of the raw data, just email it out would be awesome. Thank you.
We'll do that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We have more questions for Laura? Thank you, ma'am. Good report.
Thank you.
Moving on down to old business. Kara, you want to handle the tribal gathering rights? Please.
I don't know if Councilman Keener wanted to speak to it because he actually got to go to the a portion of the traditional plants conference.
Ethnobotany conference. I did, but I guess with the all right with this body, we could. Well, unless Pat wants to give a report on this, but we're still kind of on a holding pattern. So I would like to keep on the agenda.
Information, nothing major. I'd be more than happy to get that if you're wanting to. I do have some new information, which I could give you, or if there's nothing earth-shattering. Pardon me, I'm not getting old, but my eyes are. I guess what I would say is I know that the Secretary of State, well, let me rephrase that, the executive branch is working on it because I've been supplying them some information regarding the Endangered Species Act, as well as some of the ancillary laws here at the tribe regarding the culturally protected species portion of the Fish and Wildlife Code. So I do know that they are working on that. I don't have a approved policy or position paper to put in front of you right now, but I do know that they are having meetings and working on that because I've been giving them information on about 6 or 7 different fronts regarding that.
Thank you, Pat.
No, go ahead.
If we could keep that as a discussion item for next month.
Okay, you want to?
Ma'am, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So, and I really appreciate the committee's indulgence that for keeping this important issue alive. Do we have an ETA? Can we get some kind of timeline or time frame of expectations from the administration to this body so that we can?
I have one copy of this that I think would be helpful, that I guess I could give to Shelley, and she could make as many copies as the group wanted. I think that would be, I think that would give you a lot of information.
Okay, and I would appreciate it by email and make sure that it's in the record of the council for this meeting so that we can give people an understanding, because, you know, it wasn't just our idea, our constituents, I think to Councilman Thornton's point, came forward and said there is a huge need in this area. So if we could get that, but I would still like a time frame on when to expect next steps so that we can.
Yeah, and since that would be something that would be proffered, you know, from those above me, I can't promise that. I can certainly ask them and see what they think, but I can't give a time frame.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like to table that for 2 months?
No, because
Three?
I thought one, because if we keep it off the record, it's not going to move forward. I want a time frame reported for expectations next month. So I make a motion to table it 1 month with the expectation and time frame is presented to this body. And it needs to include Councilman Thornton's issue that he brought up.
We got a
So
motion.
Motion, I think Lee seconded.
Got a motion second to table this for a month. All in favor? Or that discussion first? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thanks, Pat. Moving on down to, well, we're done handling that veterans bill. Bruce, do you have anything else on the veterans? David?
Anything else, David?
I mean, we're working on it, administration trying to decide how they're gonna fund it. That's their ideal, is to find it, get it done.
As soon as possible.
Yes,
sir.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion, we table this to next month, and Councilor Jordan requested an official position by the administration, but she's not here. I don't know what that position is.
And that's the veterans building.
Yes.
Yes. We got a motion table the veterans building this year for 1 month. Jody seconded it. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Bruce. Was there anything else, Bruce?
No, you're good.
Thank you. Moving on down to new business, non-pending. The next meeting will be Monday, July the 16th. Are there any more announcements?
I have one announcement, Mr. Chairman. PAC meeting in 5 minutes. PAC subcommittee meeting is our next one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have a PAC meeting in 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion adjourned. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?